Hey guys, we're coming back at you this week with another great video to talk about what is the best bait for winter crappie fishing. I've got Garrett Garner here with me. We're going to be dropping some major knowledge right here. Hit that subscribe button. Please like the video. Let's talk some fishing. Well, Garrett, one thing a lot of people want to know is what should their plan of attack be going into winter time? Do they need minnows? Do they need big baits? Do they need small baits? How is it you go after them?
Generally, when I'll start right now. The fish are feeding pretty good. They're getting that winter feed on, getting ready to start producing eggs. When I start with a 1/16.
Okay, a little bit smaller jig head.
Yeah, that's typically my go-to all the time. Depending on how active the fish are, I may upgrade, go to an 8, maybe a little longer bait. I like a plastic during the wintertime, get a little more activity to it.
You know, that's my personal favorite too. In the wintertime, there's nothing wrong with using minnows at all. Nothing wrong with it at all. But when you go into the wintertime, it's hard to find the right size minnows.
Right.
And in my opinion, if that sucker's over 1.5 inches long, the fish are going to run from it.
And if
you like the
you
smaller.
spend the money on a pound of minnows, you may get 2 or 3 dozen that'll be right, and the rest of them will be too big.
Yeah, you'll be thumbing through them. I actually had a guide trip here. We're right here at Blue Bank Resort, right on the edge of the Real Foot, Tennessee. I had a guide trip here last week, and it took me about 45 minutes to sift through the minnows out of the minnow tank.
Yep.
I ended up with about 3 dozen minnows, the longest one being about 2 inches, and the shortest one being around 1 inch. And I wish I could find a sack full of those 1 inch long minnows, especially this time of year.
And then you got your rosy reds and your silvers and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be like just picking out a jig. So I prefer to start with a plastic and go from there.
Now, in this colder water, what would a go-to color be for you going into the winter time?
Well, I don't think the water, to me, I don't believe the temperature has much effect on it. I look more as the visibility in the water, clarity.
Okay.
Sun, is it cloudy, sunny, partly? And then I've just got my comfort colors. You know, that everybody's got a color that they come out and it's produced for them, and they start with what they know. Typically, I'm looking at the Joker uppercut.
Okay, purple and chartreuse.
Purple and chartreuse.
The purple's got some glitter in it. Is that one of the reasons, or would it just be a solid purple?
It's just the purple is what I like, and chartreuse has been a crappie producing machine for as long as it's been.
As long as it's been around, man.
So it's a real comfort color for me. Now, if they're not going for that, I do like the monster milk. I like the margarita. I'll typically start with an uppercut profile, though.
Okay. Uppercut profile, it's one of the crappie monster baits, and it's got a flame tail to it.
Right.
You can fish it with the tail together, or you can split it apart to give it 2 different tails. How do you fish it? Do you leave
I
it
like
together?
mine together, but I also like to rig it sideways so it looks more like a
smaller,
shad profile,
skinnier profile.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the loop knot that I use, it just hangs there and it looks like a bait fish suspended. So when you put it on that crappie and you bounce it, that tail gets to flicking.
But it'll wave like a minnow tail. Okay. Okay.
And it just drives those crappie crazy.
Now, you know, this morning and yesterday morning, I got out there and I was having a little bit of issues getting the fish to bite.
Mm-hmm.
I was fishing with one of the moon dust glow small fries.
Right.
And one thing that these baits have in common, the Joker he's talking about and the moon dust glow, they're both glow baits.
Glow baits, yep.
Both of them are glow baits. Now, I had to take about 3/4 of the body off where I was pretty well fishing with just tail.
Yep.
And I had to get small enough to entice those cold water crappie to bite. I wish I had one. I just have taken it off my clothes. Easy Drift came out with that new scent ball.
Right.
And I put one on the.
About that.
Yeah, I just put one. I've got some in the boat. I'll give you some here in a minute. I put one on with that, and it was just boom, 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 like 8 fish straight in a row on the same one.
Kind of goes back to what we were saying, why I like to start smaller and work my way up. The big fish can get finicky right now.
Yes.
They get to where they just want to nose up, look at it, and they might turn and swim off if they don't like the presentation. So, to me, a smaller profile, and then work your way up to what they want.
Yeah, if they're running from a small one, go up to a bigger one.
Right.
I've been using some of our bluegill baits out here too. They're 1 inch total length, and that is it's been able to help me put fish in the boat, just going to the smaller profile.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people, and that's just my opinion, I think that's where a lot of people struggle going into the wintertime. They're trying to use something that's just too big.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to sell you Crappie Monster products here, guys. We're just talking
about
it
because we're comfortable with. Yeah.
That's just what we use. Use a Bobby Garland will catch fish. A Charlie Brewer, it's going to catch fish. Joe Blow from down the road, you can use it. It's going to catch fish as long as it's the right size, right color, and the right presentation.
You know, and I think that's going to differ from lake to lake, and it may be a day-to-day. You go down to Grenada, for instance, and you could probably put a 3-inch bait on all day long.
You know, I've got a 3 1/4 inch at mag minnows, and I use those with a 1/4 ounce head and a 2-aught hook. Not a number 2 hook, a 2-aught hook.
Yeah.
When I'm crappie fishing down there.
Yep.
And it's just because the further south you go, the more aggressive the fish are going to be because the water's warmer.
Probably a little dingier.
Yeah, or a little dingier. The warmer the water is, the more aggressive the crappie are, in my opinion, in most places across the country. Now, we're right here in the middle United States right now, and this morning it was cold.
Yeah, we had a water temp, I think, when we come off, was about 51 degrees. Real foot, it's kind of rare to see fish stacked up like they were, but we had 4 or 5 fish on the stump, you know, and that's unusual here. We get a lot of solitary fish, a lot of individual fishing, but with this, you'd be a little more methodical. You can start picking more fish off that one tree.
Yeah.
So, you know, it goes back to presentation. You get that small jig, what they want, get the color they want, and they'll swim right off of that stump, won't bother the rest of them.
And see, that's the key to it, folks. When you got them stacked up the side of that tree, if you'll start at the one on top, don't catch him on that tree. If they will follow, wait, try to speed up to get away from him until he gets 2 to 3 feet off that tree.
Yep.
Then jack his jaw,
yep.
Put him in a boat, and go back, and you can just domino all the way down that tree and catch every last one of them.
You know, you could do that, and then the other thing is on your boat control. To segue into that a little bit, I don't have power poles on my boat, so when it's windy like today, that is a big advantage for me. I can roll up to that stump, let off the trolling motor, and then just pull that fish off with the wind.
Yeah.
But you know, somebody with power poles, they could sit there on that tree and just have a field day.
Yeah, so see, that's it. I can run right up there with them power poles. It don't matter if I'm facing into the wind behind me. I've got the trolling motors on my power poles and the stomp switch there by my foot. And I can just sit there and just like a robot, like I've got anchors off all 4 sides, and pick them fish off.
Yep. So there's a big advantage to that. To me, I always fish into the wind. I believe that has increased my catch rate.
Even with the power poles, I prefer fishing into the wind, face on into the wind. Now this is forward facing sonar, so we're live scoping, single poling, or casting at them.
Yeah. Going
straight into the wind is key to being able to control your boat and catch those fish.
Yeah.
Let's see. Reelfoot Lake right now, it's pretty clear for Reelfoot Lake.
Yeah, we had a little rain earlier this week, but it didn't stain the water up as bad as I've seen it. So you're probably still looking at what, half a foot visibility, something like that.
6 to 8 inches visibility, which is fairly clear for Reelfoot. I've seen at times that as soon as the water covered your jig, it was gone.
Yeah. It's more like a coffee color when it gets, you know, especially during the summertime, the water gets stagnant. It gets real coffee colored.
Yeah.
So that's why I choose the chartreuse. Get a little brighter.
Yeah, get a little brighter return.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things about the glow bait. And again, I don't care whose brand you use. The glow bait will, well, actually, I do care whose brand you use, but okay, it's a biased opinion. The glow bait will help throw a glow around that bait and help those fish find it, especially when you get into deeper water, even in the colder months. The colder months, the water everywhere seems to be more clear, and it's because it ain't getting beaten up by rain and everything else. You don't have those thunderstorms.
in general. You know, you're not having people stir up the water as much, and yeah, I agree.
Yeah, straight across the nation, the water is generally more clear in the wintertime, and that's why I go to more natural colors, like the Ozark Smoke. It's got a black back, silver belly.
That's a good one. Probably I'm gonna go with purple again. I like
there
purple.
There you go. He's purple.
Just the OG. You know, the purple and white crappie monster is.
Yes.
That's another killer for me.
You know, I got in a situation. I think it was a couple YouTube videos back. It was crappie fishing open water. I used a color that I never used before in my life. The water was crystal clear on Darbone. Darbone's generally a little bit more darker water color, and I couldn't get those fish to eat. I couldn't get them with a minnow. I couldn't get them with a soft plastic. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I went through. I had baits. It looked like you throwed a grenade, or a grenade of baits across the deck of my boat.
Yeah.
Well, finally, I looked at it and it's like, you know what? I've been in business for almost 6 years now. I've never once put that bait on. I'm gonna try it. It was a doggone red and white, red back, white belly. I put it on her, and I mean, they just started smoking it. I cannot figure out what that time of year would be red down there that they're eating. I've racked my brain. If you've got the answer to that, put it in the comments below, because we are very curious. And when it comes
I'm the same way. I've got a red and chartreuse that I have that I don't know that I've ever used, but I want to have it just in case.
Just in case. Well, out of all the thousands of hours that I've spent on the water, I finally found that situation where I had to have that red and white.
Yep.
And before I left, there was another gentleman there that was kind of struggling just a little bit.
Yep.
And he said, "What are you using?" I said, "You know what? I'm done." I trolled over and I handed him that bag of baits. And he looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Nobody down here uses red for anything.
I can honestly say red is few and far between. Now, I may use it as an accent color sometimes, but the body's not ever solid red.
Well, I can tell you from the bait manufacturer side, I have to order my other colors 6, 7, 8 times before I have to restock in the red.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not widely known to use the red, but that's one to put in your trick sack and take with you next time you go fishing. I don't care whose it is. Red back, white belly on a small fry profile, 2-inch bait, little bitty tail, Bobby Garland style. That's the best way to say it, Bobby Garland style. They were the first, and all the rest of us copied off of that one because that's the #1 selling style artificial crappie bait in the country.
Yeah.
But that red and white, I am forever sold. I'll never go without it again.
It kind of makes you wonder if it's a pressure-related thing. You know, they see so many baits every so often, and then they get hit with something that they ain't never seen. Maybe they're interested in it.
You know, and that's something I use in the spawn. After a bed shuts down, I'll grab a great big old bait or something wild colored, and I'll throw it across there, and I'll burn that sucker across there so fast you'd never think a fish could ever possibly catch it, and then boom.
Got him.
And then got him. Sorry about that, guys.
You know, I do the same thing sometimes, but I typically go with a pink during the spring. You know, if we're not producing any fish, I'll try to get a reaction bite almost. Yeah. You know, a lot of people think crappie are kind of lazy, but they will chase that bait.
Oh, they will, and the sheer speed that they have in that 1 foot stretch when they back up and they turn up and that burst of energy, it's amazing how fast these fish actually are.
On the sonar, especially, you can see that fish, and then the next thing you know, you feel your line before you see it move.
Yes, he's done hit you before you saw it move on the screen. Well, guys, we hope that this has been able to give you a little bit more insight into how that professional guide and myself do it during the wintertime. It's go small and put them on the hook. Well, guys, hit that subscribe button, like this video. We're going to be coming at you next week with another video, and hopefully with somebody else that ain't been on the channel before, because we're trying to get you as much knowledge and as much information as what we can to help you catch them fish. We'll see you next week, guys.